Peace and blessings, gentlemen. Peace and blessings. What's good with y'all,
Yo,
brothers?
yo, peace.
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 Peace, peace, peace. Yeah, man. I just want to start it off the show just showing the picture of the land. Uh, I could pull up other pictures as well and brief it, but I just want to let the people, the viewers, know that that's where we at. That's what it looks like. It looks beautiful. I think I took. I don't know if I took that picture or somebody else did.
No, I think that is yours.
That's mine.
I
Yeah.
believe so. Yeah, man. That's it, man. And that's the legacy right there. That's what we're talking about when we talk about legacy.
What does that what does that picture mean to you, brother Nick?
Man, for me, it represents a token, a symbol of freedom, man. Because what we have to realize is this, right? Land is one of the only resources. We talked about this on the previous episode, but land is one of the resources they're not making any more of, with the exception of these technologically advanced societies that are going out and artificially creating land. They're not creating any more land. So that being said, one of the most valuable resources that you can have on this planet, and which you were born onto, is land. And that, for me, it represents the total freedom of returning back to what was envisioned from us for the beginning. Um, for those that are that have any type of spiritual background or religious background, Adam was created and then he was placed in a garden. So for me, it represents that original nature of man.
Yeah, for sure. I'm on the website right now, just scrolling. That's thegrowspot.org. So 40 acres in a vision. The Growth Spot is your vibrant and inclusive retreat tucked within nature's embrace, designed to nourish your body, mind, and spirit. As a Black owned and operated organization, we're passionately committed to providing a safe and welcoming space that allows individuals and families to explore, grow, and thrive. Spread across a verdant 37.5-acre landscape, we'll be offering a transformative outdoor experience that blends joy, learning, and well-being. So shout out to Brother James. I think Brother James did the site.
Absolutely, that's Brother James right there. As a matter of
Brother
fact,
James right there.
40
yes, sir.
acres in a vision. I like that.
Yeah, 40 acres in a vision. Yeah, well, this is the site, man. Thegrowspot.org. At the Growth Spot, we're unified in action to build, protect, and expand a fruitful legacy. Legacy, acronym meaning love, equity, growth, ancestry, cooperation, and yield. By inspiring and educating on the practices of agriculture, self-care, nutrition, environmental stewardship, and entrepreneurship, we aim to cultivate a vibrant community rooted in resilience and sustainability. Join us and sow seeds of a flourishing future. That's pretty dope, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. Yeah, thegrowspot.org, man. Check it out. Check it out. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. I think last episode we left off at like we were looking at the land. We we went to go. We were everybody was putting links in the chat. Well, we created a chat, and then everybody was putting links in from the websites, different websites we were looking at. Um, and we narrowed it. What was it? Top three, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I
we.
believe it was the top three,
Yep,
and
top
then
three.
that led us into going to see the land. So obviously, with the land being where it's located from us, from the the metropolitan area, it was important for us to actually go see it. But yeah, we posted quite a few links. We narrowed it down, and selected finally that piece, that plot that we were going to use to be able to secure.
Yeah, just to emphasize that, like seeing it is very important to the process. Like as we know, if you're looking at a car, a home, anything online, through picture, I mean, it doesn't really tell the whole story, right? You don't get the
Right.
full perspective. So, especially with land, highly recommended that if you can, put your feet on the ground,
On it
walk it.
before you go.
Yeah, yeah, you want to kind of immerse yourself in that environment to ensure that it is appropriate for your liking before you pull the trigger on that purchase.
Peace, Delon.
Peace and
Yo,
blessings.
peace.
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 Yeah, it's kind of like a car. You want to go check out the car, make sure it's running good, make sure that it ain't the lemons. So you can see, you don't want to get catfish with the land. I get that's what you're saying, basically.
Yeah,
No
man, and we
doubt.
talked about some of those factors last time, like for example, being landlocked. I don't know that people truly understand what that means, but if you got a piece of land that you got land surrounding it on all four areas or four sides, and you can't get access to your land without going through somebody else's property. In other words, there's no road or there's no method of being able to get access to your land. That's what you call landlocked. And so that being said, I think that those were one of some of the factors that we talked about. I know another one we talked about was accessibility to utilities, for example. That's another piece that you want to consider, right? We're living in this concrete jungle, and in this concrete jungle, a lot of things are provided to us. We have easy access to things, but you have to understand when you're talking about land and you're investing in a large portion of land, those are some factors to also consider as well.
Peace and blessings, Bilal.
Hey, yo,
Also,
peace.
Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings.
Well, I
also,
got a question though, real quick. How are they able to sell land that's landlocked though?
That's
Yeah,
that's a good question.
it's definitely possible. For instance, like a lot of these rural parcels, when the title company or the entity that purchase, usually they purchase like a large amount of acres, and then they just kind of divvy it up. I would imagine they kind of do that based on geographical features, but in some instances, you may have properties that are kind of wedged into these spaces where they're surrounded by other, privately owned properties. Um, and in most cases, those parcels would be, um, you know, at a premium, a lot less than what would be ideal, right? So
Yeah,
it's just one of those things that you definitely want to do your due diligence on to make sure. Brother Nick mentioned access to the land. So there's two types of access that you definitely want to consider. So there's legal access, and then there's like physical access, right?
yeah,
So if we're looking at a map, legal access is you looking at that map and seeing the boundaries of that particular parcel, and you see, okay, from this access road, it's adjacent to my property, so I can access my property from this particular road or from this particular easement, right?
right.
Um, Physical access is like the characteristics of the terrain. What does that actually like, right? So what you may not see on that map is maybe um, immediately adjacent to that road is a, a, a creek or a ditch or just some type of like a feature that does not permit like desired access on foot or via vehicle, right? Maybe you have to
Yeah,
build a bridge from
or
that
use the
access
easement.
road into the land, right? So some of the indicators of some of that stuff may be if you're looking at a parcel and it's significantly less in price than some of the adjacent properties, right? There's reason for that, right? In most cases. And it could be a multitude of different things. It could be access issues. It could be access to utilities, like Brother Nick brought up. It could be access to waterways of some sort. It could be a multitude of different things. So you definitely want to do your due diligence in that regard.
Okay.
And brother, true. Putting your feet on the land. Talk to me about putting your feet in the soil on the land.
man, it's just like it's taking it back to our indigenous roots. You know what I'm saying? Having no interference between you and getting the real natural vibrations of the earth. It's sort of like experiencing how to be a human being for the first time again. You know, like animals, they don't have like shoes or some type of some type of clothing that separates them from the land. So they're always connected to Mother Earth, right? So it's like we walk in this existence on this planet, not even being connected to like what Brother Nakia was saying earlier, where we were birthed from, right? So it's like we're totally disconnected. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, when people talk about how, you talk about mental health, you talk about like um, people being crazy and all these things. And it's like, well, no wonder because we're not even connected to, what makes us who we are. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why it was important for me, when I was out there, because even out here, it's mostly concrete, asphalt, you know what I'm saying? And so just to
Right.
be out there, had to take advantage of that, and as far as like getting the land, also another thing that we took into account was, elevation and making sure we're not in a flood zone. Um,
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I know, Kylan, when you got your land, you talked about like having a wash nearby or something where like the water could,
Yeah, in the back.
you know what I'm saying? And some other things I want to get into is like, I'm not sure we spoke on it in the previous episode, but just seeing the sky at nighttime, right? And with the buildings not the buildings and lights not interfering with like the natural, getting that natural scene of the cosmos, if you will, right? So
Absolutely.
I just know one time when y'all was looking up at the sky, it just seemed like everybody just froze. I wasn't even looking at the sky. I was just looking at y'all, and it was a poster. Like y'all was just in awe. And like when I did look up at the sky, it was like you heard this like the, I was going deeper into, and I was seeing beyond. Like wow, I was like it was just like an acid trip, right? It was
Yeah,
just like
it did look like some trippy, like
I
some
got hypnotized, man. I was like,
shroom,
what the fuck is
shroom
going
boom.
I
Yeah,
don't remember if we gave a toast before or after. No, it was after, but that had nothing to do with it though. It was just a little shot. You know what I'm saying? But, man, just you got man. It's what we missing, man. It's what we missing. And I
So
don't know if y'all seen the video, but when the brother was talking about, Nakia, he was talking about like the first wife given to man was Eden, and then the second wife was Eve. You know what I'm saying? So Eden comes first. And like we haven't even experienced that. You know what I'm saying? So
let's speak on once we narrowed it down to the top choices that we wanted to look at. Then we planned a trip to go up there and meet the what do you call them, the
The
company,
broker.
the broker,
Yeah.
and then so once, or am I jumping the gun? No, first we saved up the bread. Yeah, we had a deadline for the
yeah, we did.
bread. Yeah, we had a deadline for the cheese, for the money, and then we all we created a business LLC, and then we got a business account. Correct?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
Okay. Then after that, we started to get really to the nitty gritty of, trying to narrow it down to something, and then that's when we chose to drive up to St. John's and meet the broker. So who want to carry it off after that?
Y'all jump in there, man, real quick because one of the things that we did was once we got the LLC is we decided to drive up, and in the drive we were like, man, let's take a look at these parcels. And so when we got there, we were looking at the map, man, and that was the thing that was interesting to me was seeing the map of all the land laid out and all the different parcels that were there, and just being able to see on a large scale this is what we're getting ourselves into. And then when you got there and you're like, wait a minute, okay, now this is the size of 37 and a half acres. Like for me, it was mind blowing, right? Because I had an idea, but my idea was way smaller than what we actually have. You know what I mean?
I got a question though. Why? So a person watching a video, they don't have to form an LLC. Why do we form an LLC?
I think it was just advantageous for the amount of people that we had on this project to be able to consolidate um, the amount of people. Six of us at the beginning, and so instead of having six people present for every single stage of the operation, starting an LLC allow people to almost take advantage of the opportunity, kind of like virtually, I guess. So that way it was one forming document that represented all of us, so that it could kind of make the transition a little more seamless.
Right.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
That's
and it
one of
made it a
the
lot
things.
easier because we had ideas about, for example, the DAO, right? Decentralized autonomous organization, right? So I think it made it a lot easier in that respect as well. And then, of course, it adds a layer of protection. So for all of us, we're not the liable party, if that per se, if that makes sense. It's a shield of protection. So that was the other thing as well, was having that shield.
And also in part two, because this is essentially a business enterprise, right? Like we had from the very beginning ideas about how to monetize the land and utilize the land in such a way that could bring some form of revenue back to us. And so the best way to do that, and like the brother said, to kind of protect yourself or insulate yourself from different liabilities, is to form whether it's a limited liability or S corp, a C corp, some type of entity that allows you to monetize, but then also gives you certain protections tax wise and also against any kind of liability that may fall your way, so that your personal assets aren't at stake if something were to go awry.
I also believe that with the LLC, it also it sets a level of accountability for each of us as well, because now it's not just us, it's the actual business, and each of us are in a sense we're responsible for each other. So the things that
Yeah,
we do and the
Yeah.
thing, if we don't hold carry our weight on a certain end or something like that, then it all
correct.
falls back on each one of us, which makes it harder to do that, because now it's not just like, oh, okay, I could take that hit. It's now everybody got to take the hit.
Accountability.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's important to touch on what those contributions looked like for us. I'm sure a lot of people viewing this are probably questioning like, okay, well, how much money did it take
What are
to
they
make
talking
this
about? Right.
initial
Yeah,
down
yeah.
payment? Let's get into that.
Y'all want to talk specific numbers?
Well,
Not
you can do
necessarily.
rough numbers. You can do
Yeah.
rough numbers
Okay.
for easy math purposes, right?
Yeah.
Rough numbers.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about it from the beginning, that it was pretty easy to set up, because it was like, all right, they just want 10% down, and so if you took a parcel of land that would say 50 grand, 10% down is 5 grand. So
Exactly.
we started kind of with a similar round number. It allowed us the opportunity to kind of get in to get the down payment on the books, have a little bit of capital left over, and then what we did was we looked at what our monthly payment was going to be. So let's say hypothetically it was $500, to ensure that there's always enough money to cover the monthly
For sure.
payment. But then to also have a surplus for things coming down the line, like taxes, like
Yeah.
POA fees or property. POA fees is essentially like homeowners association fees, but this is
Yeah.
property owners association fees. So to be able to cover those things, it made sense then to have everybody pitch in enough to cover the monthly, and then an additional surplus, so that our account always has a surplus in it. So if God
Each
forbid
month.
there be something that happens after a couple of months, we had enough built up to where we could pay 2 months without having to pay all of the dues, and we would
Yeah.
still be in a position to kind of move forward. So I think that for each individual, it's gonna look different. You got to make sure that you guys are in constant communication with each other to figure out what are your overall goals, what is the vision that you have for
Yeah.
the property, and that makes it a little bit easier to figure out how to structure your monthly dues.
Right, and of course, since it's going to be different for everyone, different price and different things, and a different group of individuals, that plan or that structure may look different. Whatever you all come up with together collectively is the plan, but the conversation definitely should take place often.
Hmm. Yeah. Because it's
Yeah. And
it's
then the other,
almost like, really quick, it's almost like looking at our situation. We almost double up every month, almost on a
for sure.
payment, right? The way that we contribute, I think it's almost like a double up, close to it. It's like maybe one and a half, a little more than 1.5 times we put in what our monthly fee is or what our monthly obligation is. And it just kind of works, because then it gives us as like a soft revenue that we can use for different ancillary expenses. If we want to be able to cover gas to go down there, rental purchases,
Yeah.
or different things like that, we already have money in the bank that kind of helps to kind of facilitate some of these projects. And then if we decide that we're going to do something extra, then we can kind of come back to the table and say, all right, let's contribute X amount of dollars over in this particular month so that we can cover those expenses as well. But it'll look different for everybody. It'll definitely
Right.
look different for everybody, regardless of what it is you're trying to accomplish. Communication is the key, making sure that everybody is on the same page.
Once we had the down
Yeah,
payment, then that's when we planned the trip to go look at it.
Yeah, I think we put the money in the
we
account
were ready to
first.
strike.
Yep, we put the money in the account first. We reached out to the broker. He said he would, and we lucked out because we were actually the first people to get a chance to view G-Bar, the second phase, outside of people that actually worked for First United. So we got the first look, the first crack at it, and we're able to get the kind of like a prime choice, a property, I would say, seeing as how our land is backed up by Bureau of Land Management as opposed to state trust land.
Yeah.
So we went down there, we drove, we looked at the land. Once we all collectively decided that this was the plot that we wanted, then it was just a matter of sitting down with the broker, signing some paperwork, getting some things notarized, which he was a notary, so that kind of worked out. And then boom, we was on the books.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to consider is this as well, man. There's multiple sites out there for land. I was looking earlier at one of the sites that we used originally, called Land for Grabs. And again, there's multiple ones. You just Google, you look out there, you can find them. But I was looking at a parcel that is not too far from where we have our land right now. There's land out there, so it's out there and available. You just have to be able to use and tap into all of your resources. And then to the point of each situation being different, right? So if you look out there and you find that parcel of land that you as a collective want to go in on, things to consider as we talked about, keep in mind that you've got all of your dues that are available, you've got the amount that you need to be able to secure the property in the first place, and then keep in mind you want to make sure that you've got something that's going to sustain you over time as well.
Right.
So
That's
the way
surplus.
we did that, yeah, the way we did that was, again, we looked at the bank account, we analyzed first off. Also, do some shopping when it comes to your bank accounts as well, because we originally started off with one branch and then we moved over to another branch because the other branch offered additional benefits. They offered a lower amount that you had to keep in the account, in the business account, in order to make sure that you're not getting charged additional fees. So those are all things to also consider as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey,
If you decide to go the bank route, there's different options as well. The route we took isn't the only route.
Yeah. Hey, there's something that I
Thanks.
want to touch on. It's a question that I get asked a lot, which is how is the appreciation on land versus on real estate? And in Arizona, generally, land appreciate or property appreciates, a house, right, would appreciate about 3 to 4% every year. I was just looking maybe last week at land in G-Bar that has come back up for sale again, and we're at about a 10% appreciation right now. If we were to sell our land, it would have
Yeah.
appreciated 10% already, and that's not counting the amount that we've contributed, that we have built up in equity.
Right.
So if you want to talk about a solid investment as well, and we're in a place where it's unincorporated, there isn't any energy resources there, right? So we don't have like power lines, or we don't have like a water system already set up, or sewage or sanitation. It's about as unadulterated a land as you can get,
Free
and a little
canvas.
over,
He said
pretty
10%.
much 10%, man. I've looked at it the other day. If you look at what it's selling for, it's about 10% higher than what we paid for a little bit more now. I think we've been at this for about a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think September, I want to say, of last year is when we signed on the dotted line and the land became
Yeah.
ours. When I looked at it last, like maybe like 2 weeks ago, it was up 10%. So that's, like I said, that's a question that I get asked a lot, because I personally wasn't sure. This is my first time owning land, so I wasn't sure as to how the land would appreciate, how fast it would appreciate. But I think that there's a lot of
That's
factors,
where we at.
obviously economically, that will contribute to that. But what I found is that on average, that's about what land appreciates, not just in that area, but in our state as a whole. So,
In general,
mhm.
yeah, there was other research done. Like we said, we checked if it was landlocked. Uh, we checked to see what rights do you have that comes with the
Yeah.
land. We checked.
Yeah.
We looked at zoning and any type of
Mhm.
planning restrictions. We also look to see, what are the taxes on it? What else? There was a couple. We check to make sure that the deed was that the title was clear. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, so there's research that you want to do. You want to do your due diligence on before you just go, try to grab something. And
Hey,
those are things that we did as well.
Yeah, by the
yeah,
way, if you do purchase from a title company like we did, in most, well, I shouldn't say most instances, but it's possible that they've done either most or all of that due diligence for
yeah,
you, and they can provide a disclosure report that
Hmm.
kind of reveals a lot of those particular details. Now, if it's a private sale, that may or may not be available to you, and you may need to go about that by either establishing some kind of agreement with the seller to have those services provided before you're willing to commit to the purchase, or you could assume that risk yourself, obviously. But those are answers that you definitely want to have as far
mhm,
as getting a survey verified, and definitely just kind of description of the terrain, whether it's classified by FEMA in the flood zone. There's four different classifications, A through D. Like, you would want to know all of that stuff before you pull the trigger on a transaction. One thing I did want to highlight, um, and we spoke to it earlier, but just to speak to the level of feasibility, right? Using the example that Brother Delon laid out for that $50,000 property, yeah, there may be people that could embark on this particular transaction on their own. But if you get a handful of individuals, five individuals, or more, right?
mhm,
Just consider for that 10% initial down payment, how feasible that could be for a group of
for
individuals
sure.
yeah,
to obtain something that is so substantial as
mhm,
37, 38, 40 acres of land, right?
mhm,
And wherever you live now, for the most part, if you live in the city, you live on a fraction of 1 acre. So just
Absolutely.
imagine what you could do, and what kind of space, 40 acres. I mean, it's a lot of space. And I don't think, um, personally speaking, for myself, I didn't realize what that was until I, set foot there and I actually walked that to experience
mhm,
that for myself.
yeah,
So just consider, the opportunities. I see it as a blank canvas.
mhm,
When we spoke at the beginning of this particular episode, as far as what does that picture of our land mean to us, I see it as a blank canvas.
yeah,
No ceilings. There's so many things that you could do. And it's all contingent on your intention, your planning, the energy of you know whatever group of individuals are involved in that particular project. But you know $5,000 for five individuals, split that five ways, $1,000 contribution to get this thing going, right?
mhm.
So I know we've all blown that kind of money
Whew.
on things that are far less significant than 40
One
acres
night.
of land.
That's
You
a
know what I'm
that's a
saying? We
crazy
we
night out. You know what I mean?
Right.
absolutely,
Hey, yo,
that's just a moment.
hey, yo, check it, man. It's like the old proverb say, man. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together.
That's
Yeah,
it.
no, for sure. Yeah.
And to give you an
Hey,
idea of what an acre is, man, an acre is, like a whole football field without the end zones. That's
Mhm.
roughly an acre. So
I think
you have 37 and a half.
on our property, like unless our neighbors built up, you could literally never see them, never have any experience or encounter with your neighbor if you didn't want to. It's that much land. You know what I mean? On either side, the north, the south, the east, the west, like we could never see any of our neighbors on their land, or while we're on our property is so expansive. And I mean, to me it provides a certain level of freedom. I think we've all kind of talked about,
Yeah.
but having this blank canvas, it then allows your imagination to run wild because you're back at the very beginning stages of
Come
civilization,
on.
right? We back to
So
where the original man was
Like a
when he was just
child.
kind of walking. Yeah,
Yeah.
when he was just walking around and he had an opportunity to kind of look and say, all right, this will be that and that'll be this. And I want that to look like that. Like you literally have the opportunity to craft out your vision and bring it to fruition however you choose to.
So what y'all telling me is that if our ancestors actually got 40 acres in a mule, there might have been a difference.
Absolutely.
Man,
Absolutely. Would have been huge.
you
Absolutely.
know,
Yo,
growing up, you
when I heard
discount that,
that,
right?
when I was young and I heard that, I didn't grasp how valuable that was. I was like 40 acres and a mule,
Yeah.
but now you see that and you see why it was kept away from us. You feel me? Because we shit.
It gives you a certain level of power and control, but it also gives you a certain level of exemption when you have that much property, because I don't have to succumb to, like where I live now. My neighbor at 10:30 at night, he won't work on his truck, and it got this big, 450 block engine in there. So at 10:30 at night, every window in my
Turn
house
it
is
on.
rattling. You know what I'm saying? You don't have those same problems, so there's a certain level of exemption as well. You're exempt from some of the same issues that we have in the city, especially when everything in the city is getting closer and closer and closer and smaller. Dog, I'm about to kill you. And smaller and smaller and smaller. And when
leave
you
that
have the
dog
opportunity,
alone.
I know, man. Hey, when you have the opportunity, and he's a herd dog too. I'm gonna bring him down to the property, man, and let him get his
Yeah,
herd
run
off.
wild. Yeah,
You
for
know what I'm
sure.
saying? Let him. Once we get especially get some livestock down there, you can help us herd these cattle and
Them
all
big
that good
ass
stuff.
jackrabbits will get him. Yo,
Right, man.
Yeah.
you
Tell us
think
about the story,
do you
Crando.
think that? Well, I just had another question though, but regarding like what you were saying earlier, brother Delon, do you think that like now that we have it, we already went through the process of what we did to do it and how
Mhm.
we got it, kind of, which is a quick gist of it. But like, do you feel do any of y'all feel like now we got it? It's like there's a sense of urgency to try to like do something with it, or do you feel like, man, we got it, like let's just see what happens, like you say it's appreciated already,
Yeah.
or how
Well,
do y'all feel, you know what I
I'll
mean?
answer that real
Yeah,
quick.
yeah,
I
then I can answer it too after you.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I feel like all of the above. For me, it's a certain urgency to try to get it paid off, right? So that now we can own it free and clear, because then that's a different feeling, right? Once you have this thing completely paid off, now that's a different feeling of actual freedom and having the ability to then do whatever it is we want to do. We can subdivide, we could sell it, all of these different things. But I think that it also gives me a sense of urgency to see what all we can do with it, because there's so much land and the possibilities are
Man.
endless. I know just within our collective we've talked about quite probably a couple of dozen different ideas that we can do on the land, not only to just monetize it, but to make the quality of life for all of us better
Yeah.
and all of our
Right.
families better, right? It hasn't always just been talking about monetizing it and making money off of it, but how can we allow the land to then pay us forward so that we can have a
Absolutely.
comfortable place to where we can go and we can eat off of our land, we can cultivate things on our land, we can come and create family vacations and family reunions and things of that nature. So it does definitely create a sense of urgency for me,
Yeah.
not only to get it paid off, but also to see what all we can do with it.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only sense of urgency that I have, because of course acquiring it is like a big step, and you feel accomplished, like you've done something at that point. But I also feel like step one, once we had it done, is like, damn, okay, we're back to the starting
Yeah.
point.
Now what do we do?
So that's where the sense of urgency comes in for me, because we've had so many different ideas, and I want to keep that momentum, you know what I mean? And because uh the fear is falling off and not keeping that momentum. So that's kind of like, that's what always in the back of my mind. That's why the sense of urgency is there, because like it's like, man, if we lose this momentum, what is it gonna look like? Because it's the momentum that's got us this far. You feel me?
Yeah, it's
Right.
for us by us.
I
We
think
are
Yeah.
responsible.
I think
Also
the
speaks to a level of appreciation for the simple things, right?
mm,
Um,
Mhm.
running water, electricity, All the other amenities that we're just
Yep.
accustomed to. We have the normalcy bias where we just know we can wake up and flip some switches and run our water and do all of these things. Um, when you're standing on a vacant lot that do not have any infrastructure to provide those basic necessities, um, I for me it's just like clarity on what is required to provide such amenities and just like appreciation, right? And
Yeah.
in a sense, it's kind of like cultivating that land. It's a process of like truly earning like your manhood, right, with your own
Hmm.
Yeah.
hands, because it requires that work, putting your hands into the soil, prioritizing
Right.
funds, obviously, but strategizing. Why are you putting why like, when you're in the planning process, why put this particular structure or amenity here versus over there? You know, all those things that we don't typically think
So
about when we're in the city, and we just drive by these things on a daily basis and just kind of take things for granted, unfortunately.
Look, I think when like you're in the city, you feel entitled to a lot of things, and the main thing with me with the land is what I'm learning is patience, right? And it goes back to relationship. So I'm learning patience with the land, so that I can have patience in like a real relationship. And the urgency comes from just seeing what others have done. Like, as y'all know, when I went to the radio expo, I came back, I was like, yo, this couple has been is generating all these funds in less than a year. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be from like the wedding venue they had that was already built on their land, just uh, building facilities where you could just horse board, where people can bring their own horses and just take care of them on your land. You don't really have to do anything from like renting the land to hit camp and everything. And so I'm seeing all this and I'm coming back and I'm just like, yo, we can make some money, right? But like that patience, right? Because we've had the land for over a year and it's like, there hasn't been any profit from it yet, right? So I'm learning patience because I went out there and I seen a couple who was just caking out their land in less than a year. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
So I know it can be done, but patience. You understand what I'm
for those
saying?
that don't know, can you just break down real quick what the Ready Expo is?
The Ready Expo, Ghazi Muhammad in is a city outside of Atlanta. Every year, he has keynote speakers and individuals who are doing, who are like experts in their field when it comes to things like utilizing the drones to survey the land, camping, people who know how to hunt, like representatives from NAGA, who teach you about your gun rights, um, canning, solar power. He has all these experts in their fields come and they have like these workshops that you can rotate around like for 3 days and just learn about how to monetize your land and make money off your land, as well as like how to take care of it and everything, man. So it's really just you can look it up. Ready Expo, they do it every year. I highly suggest it because I just went out there just to get an idea, and I just came back like, yo, it can be done. So because sometimes you just have to see it.
Was
You
that
just
before or after we copped ours?
it was after because I wanted
it's like real
ideas.
close after.
I wanted
Yeah.
ideas on what we could do on our land. So when I came back, I just had all these ideas, and I'm just thinking like, yo, we go, let's, you know what I'm saying? But
Were they giving you any like personal insight? Like, yo, man, we just spent something in Arizona, and they were like, oh, word, like,
yeah,
what's
they was all like, "You doing it?" You know what I'm saying? They're like, "Y'all
Right.
doing it." Because one of the sisters who was a keynote speaker, I think I spoke about this before, and hopefully, I think her name is Alicia Scott. We'll have her as a guest in the future. But she was like, the hardest part is just getting people you can trust to go
Yeah,
in on some land with. And so we already
Mm,
got past that.
yeah,
You feel me?
yeah,
So now, like, you know what I'm saying? So my whole urgency comes from just like knowing like we gonna do it. There's not
yeah,
ain't no ifs about it. You feel me? So
yeah,
it's just like, yo, I know we gonna do it. So when we gonna do, you know what I mean? So it's like I gotta like be calm and be patient and just
yeah,
understand that, this is part of the process.
yeah.
You
But I
feel me?
think having the land, it does definitely create a sense of urgency and some angst to get things rolling and moving. But then at the same time, I look back at it and I'm like, like you said, the hard part is over. We acquired the land. We got it. We own it. We're on time with our dues. Like we're financially not only in a healthy position, but we're trending in the right direction. The way that everybody's contributing. So it's one of those things where even if it took us 10 years to finally figure out what to do with the land. I mean, obviously, we probably all would be going crazy by then, trying to figure out how to get this thing going. But even if it took 10 years, the hard part is over. We own the land. We accomplished, in essence, to our ancestors, the unaccomplishable, right? There
Fact.
was a lot of our ancestors that were barred from being able to ever purchase land. And those that did purchase land, they had it stolen from them, they had it taken from them.
Yep.
And so we've already put ourselves in a position to where we've done what has once been considered the impossible. So regardless of how long it takes or whatever it is we've done or whatever it is we decide to do going forward, nobody can ever take that away from the fact that we've done it. We bought the land, we're making the payments, and soon the land will be ours outright.
That's
And
facts, Brody.
part of that impossible is us coming together. And for the people, watching, we
Yeah.
spoke about that a couple of episodes ago. So go check that one out, and we explain how we were able to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
Hey, there was so we going back to the reports. There was the disclosure report, and what is it? The CCR report, CCNR, or are they kind of one and the same?
CCR.
I know the disclosure report is probably the most comprehensive in terms of providing details on like the survey, like if there was a previous survey done. It talks about the topography, the FEMA flood zone classification, speaks about whether or not you have mineral rights,
Yeah.
rights to drill for water, um, easements, utility easements would be described there. Yeah, it's a pretty at least what we have is a pretty comprehensive report. Um, the other report that you're speaking to, I would have to take another look at it to refresh my memory exactly what is highlighted there.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I want to take just a couple steps back. I did hear you, Delon, when you were saying that the hard part is over, which I do agree with in some way, but I also believe that the hard part is just beginning. So like acquiring the
Mm-hmm.
land, that it was a hard part, but that part is behind us, and we're really back at square one now. So, because like you were saying, even if we related to our ancestors and their struggle, a lot of them got the land, and for whatever reason, it was not passed down, it was not maintained, it was not anything ever transpired from it. So now that we have it, it's now the pressure of doing something with it is now present and showing its ugly head. Like, okay, now what you gonna do with it? So I do believe, like, yeah, we got that hard part over with, but that was just step one. And now that we're moving past that, at that ground level, we're back to like the hardest part again, which is maintaining this and making something out of it.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. Because I don't even think the initial investment was hard. It was just unfamiliar, right?
Right.
Uncharted
Yeah.
territory for a lot of us. So it was uncomfortable because it's like you got to trust, right? And that right there, that piece right there is this it's problematic for a lot of people because it's like you have to submit yourself into vulnerability, right? You got to put these funds on the table and be somewhat assured that nobody's gonna run off with the plug. You know what I'm saying? Um, so that's a
Hey, you
hurdle,
little
right?
motherfucker.
That's that it's that dog.
No, family, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, the hard part
No.
is actually like now that you're in the driver's seat, where you taking this thing? You know what I'm saying? So that yeah, the work is just begun. You know,
I think that's
we
something that we should discuss on next episode. Like just all of the ideas that we had, all of the stuff that we want to do, and you want to do it. You know what I mean? Like ideally, we probably still would have formed the LLC, but even if say we just had the 60 bands or 70 bands to cop whatever we wanted to cop and just snatch them, we would have did that. It still comes a place after that to plan, plot, and strategize on what you want to do. Plot your
Mm,
progress. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Figure out what you want to use the land for. Is it an investment?
yeah,
Are you just gonna sit on it? Do you want to monetize it? Do you want to make it a recreational? Do you want to make it a community? Like there's so much things that and you know we bounce. It's several of us, so we bounced probably about 100 ideas around, bro. Honestly.
easy,
That's how we
easy.
came up with this
Yeah.
podcast
Right.
idea.
Right.
Like,
Right.
we got so many ideas. Like, you know what? Let's start recording it.
Right.
Hey, we
For
we
real.
we are the Wu-Tang of land acquisition and ownership. You know what I'm
I
saying?
thought it was Voltron.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, but what Bilal said, that reminded me what you were saying the other week, Delon. Like, it's one thing to have the land, but if you don't do anything with it, I'm saying that's the qualification, right? To actually produce something on it in order to go beyond that and be qualified to lead somebody else.
And me personally, I'm fueled by the non-believers. You feel me? So like, in a sense, it's like I know that there's still a lot of people like, okay, well, y'all ain't gonna do nothing with it. You feel me?
Okay, watch.
So
Just I be saying on
okay,
IG,
I'm
watch
like,
this.
okay, bet, watch this,
Yeah.
watch,
Yeah.
okay,
I be like, keep watching. That's my.
Yeah,
That's
they
my.
out there. They out there. They out
Like,
there laying
like,
down there. They out there laying down in the dirt.
like, we live here. We got some slogans, right? We live here. My joint is like, keep watching. Watch
right.
what
Yeah.
Oh, yep. I
Keep
love that.
watching, man.
Yep.
we gonna set the example, right?
Hmm.
For sure. For sure. Well, this episode 3, man. Anybody got any shout outs before we wrap it up?
This episode should be called "Keep Watching."
Keep watching. Keep watching for a lot of different reasons, not just the podcast, man. Keep watching the podcast, but keep watching what we're doing out on that
Real
land because
time.
it's gonna be some real
How,
big and real great things coming in the near future for sure.
how do y'all feel about discussing like certain? I guess we got to talk about that privately, but like discussing certain things we want to do.
Yeah, I think that there is a level of freedom to be able to discuss what we're trying, some of the things that we're trying to do, because I'm a firm believer. I've never been one that I worry about ideas being stolen, because in reality, all of my ideas are stolen. I believe no idea is original. All of these ideas and thoughts and plans are all kind of floating out in the internet and the ethernet of the universe. And so I'm not opposed to being able to being able to discuss some of the projects that we've talked about. I know that some of them it may make sense to kind of keep under wraps until we're able to get it a little closer to launching, just because we don't want to kind of shoot ourselves in the foot. But I think it would make a lot of sense to be able to speak freely about some of the ideas that we have for what to do with the land and some of the ideas that we have coming down the pipeline in the immediate future.
With it.
Hey, Delon, leave that dog alone, man. That dog ain't
I'm
messing with
about,
nobody.
about to, he just scratched me all up. I got to go take him to get his claws clipped, man. And he tore my ass up, I'm
Hey,
bleeding
it's
and shit.
crazy because he knows that like your attention is like, you know what I mean? He's
Somewhere
like,
else.
nah, bro, nah, I ain't
Yeah.
having it, not in front of me.
Because he don't never bother me like this. I be here working, he don't never bother me. All of a
Right.
sudden today, he want to come and jump, mess
Well,
around.
shit, we're gonna wrap it up, bro. I think this was a good build, definitely a good episode. I think this might probably be one of the ones people watch because now they feel like, okay, now they talking about something. Now they talk. I want to know what the hell they did, like
Yeah.
And then now we're getting to the point where now you're gonna see what we build, and I think being transparent is important. Just kind of showing that
Yeah.
we ain't got all the answers, but anything can be answered if you research it.
And it also highlights and illustrates the beauty of the community that we form, or the collective that we have formed. You know, that we have the ability to bounce ideas off each other, see which ones stick, see which ones don't, but understanding that the collective is greater than the individual. Because I may have a great idea that I feel like, and I bring it to the collective, and they're like, let's try it a different way, or let's try something else. And being able to say, hey, you know what, that's okay if my ideas don't make it to the cutting floor, for the simple fact that, hey, It's about what is greater, what is best for the collective, the community of this whole thing. So I think that process of being able to discuss ideas and how the ideas go from just my thought to going to a vote, being able to illustrate and discuss all of that process, I think is helpful for people that are thinking about embarking on a similar journey.
Facts. Well, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man. Until next week, we'll holler at y'all, man. It's the Growth Spot.
Keep watching.
Peace.
Peace.